Title: The River of Lost Voices. The fog clung to the river like a shroud, thick and icy, devouring the light of the waning moon. The village slept, unaware of the terror that loomed over its murky waters. Only the distant echo of dogs, barking at nothing, broke the oppressive silence. A silence that would soon be shattered. Old Mateo, a man weathered by the sun and tragedies, was the only one who remained awake. Sitting on the porch of his cabin, rocking slowly, his gaze fixed on the river. He knew its secrets, its treacherous currents, and the stories the wind whispered as it brushed the surface. Stories of lost souls and eternal sorrow. Tonight, the river spoke with a different voice. A dull lament, rising from the depths, a moan that filtered through the murmur of the water. Mateo closed his eyes, feeling a chill run down his spine. He knew what that lament meant. She had returned. La Llorona. The specter of a mother consumed by grief, condemned to wander eternally in search of her drowned children. Her legend was the nightmare of every parent, the fear instilled in children to keep them away from the shore after nightfall. Mateo opened his eyes abruptly. The lament had intensified, turning into a heartrending scream. A scream that resonated in the air, freezing the blood in one's veins. He stood up with difficulty, leaning on his wooden cane, and walked towards the riverbank. The silhouette of a woman was outlined in the fog. A tall, slender figure, dressed in white rags, with dark hair falling over her face. She moved slowly, as if she were looking for something. Or someone. Mateo felt a knot in his stomach. It wasn't the first time he had seen her, but the sight never ceased to be terrifying. He tried to speak, but the words caught in his throat. Fear paralyzed him. La Llorona stopped on the shore, right in front of him. She raised her face, revealing empty sockets, eyes without light, filled with infinite sadness. She opened her mouth, and from it came a lament that pierced him like a knife. "Where are my children?" she asked with a spectral voice, a whisper laden with pain and despair. Mateo couldn't answer. He could only watch as La Llorona walked into the river, walking on the murky waters as if they were solid ground. Her silhouette slowly faded into the fog, while her lament drifted away with the current. He returned to his cabin, trembling with cold and fear. He lit the fire in the fireplace and sat in front of it, trying to calm his racing heart. He knew the night would be long. La Llorona wouldn't rest until she found her children. And that meant danger for all the children in the village. The next morning, the town woke up with the news. Little Samuel, the baker's youngest son, had disappeared. His bed was empty, the window open. There was no trace of him. Panic seized the village. Parents desperately searched for their children, checking every corner, every alley, every house. But Samuel didn't appear. Mateo knew the truth. He knew that La Llorona had taken him. He had heard her lament throughout the night, a lament that had mingled with the sound of the river. A lament that had promised revenge. He went to the baker's house, where he found the parents devastated. He tried to console them, but he knew there was no possible consolation. Samuel had been lost forever in the river of lost voices. But Mateo wouldn't give up. He wouldn't allow La Llorona to take another child. He decided to confront her, even if it meant risking his own life. That night, he returned to the riverbank. He waited patiently, sitting on the same stone where he used to sit with his wife, before the illness took her away. The fog covered the river again, enveloping it in its cold, damp embrace. After midnight, La Llorona appeared. Her ghostly silhouette was outlined in the fog, her lament echoing in the air. Mateo stood up, facing her bravely. "Llorona," he said in a firm voice, despite the fear he felt, "I know you're looking for your children, but you can't keep taking the children of the village. It's not fair. You don't understand my pain," she said in a spectral voice. "They were snatched away from me. They were taken from me. Now I will snatch others. Revenge won't bring you peace," Mateo replied. "It will only condemn you to continue wandering eternally. Let go of the pain, Llorona. Let your children rest in peace." La Llorona was silent for a moment. She seemed to hesitate. For an instant, Mateo believed he had managed to reach her heart. But then, her empty sockets filled with an uncontrollable fury. "Never!" she screamed in a heartbreaking voice. "I will never let them go." She lunged at Mateo, trying to drag him into the river. He defended himself with his cane, hitting her with all his might. La Llorona was strong, stronger than she seemed. But Mateo wouldn't give up. They would fight to the end. The fight was long and brutal. La Llorona scratched him, bit him, trying to drown him in the river. Mateo defended himself with his cane, hitting her again and again. Finally, he managed to knock her to the ground. Taking advantage of the opportunity, he took out of his pocket a rosary that had belonged to his wife. He raised it high and began to pray fervently. La Llorona screamed in pain, writhing on the ground. The light of the rosary burned her, consumed her. Little by little, her silhouette faded away, until only a faint glow remained. The lament faded away, until only the murmur of the river remained. La Llorona had disappeared. Mateo fell to the ground, exhausted and bruised. But he had done it. He had freed the village from the terror of La Llorona. The next morning, the body of little Samuel was found on the bank of the river. He was asleep, safe and sound. La Llorona had returned him. Since then, La Llorona was never seen again in the river. Some say that she finally found peace and was reunited with her children. Others, that she continues to wander through other rivers, seeking revenge. But in the village, the legend of La Llorona became a distant memory, a warning to the children who got too close to the riverbank after nightfall.